Desde 2019, a Toyota vem acelerando o futuro, produzindo no Brasil o primeiro híbrido flex do mundo. De lá pra cá, as coisas mudaram. Muitos entraram na tendência que a gente criou. Mas sabe o que não mudou? A confiança do brasileiro na Toyota, que não veio da noite pro dia. Toyota, no futuro há muito tempo. Paz no trânsito começa por você.
Today on CityCast Philly, we're talking about tonight's presidential debate, an update on the Sixers arena proposal. You might be paying more for a bus ride, and we've got a Philly news quiz. It's Tuesday, September 10th. I'm Trenae Nuri, and here's what Philly's talking about. Joining me this week is Abby Fritz, our producer at CityCast Philly. Hey, Abby.
Hey, Trenae.
And Asha Prihar, our Hey Philly newsletter editor. Hey, Asha.
Good morning, Trenae.
Good morning. Okay, so tonight is a big night. At 9 p.m., the nation will be watching the first televised presidential debate between former President Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris. ABC News is hosting the debate at the National Constitution Center. Asha, you listed a couple of watch parties in the Hey Philly newsletter that are happening throughout the city and in our area, right?
Yeah, so one option that I found when I was looking for events for the newsletter is hosted by the Philadelphia Citizen, Committee of 70, and a few other groups. It's happening at City Tap House in Center City, and if you RSVP, you can actually get a free drink, and it starts at 8 p.m. I also came across some with partisan affiliations, so one of them is the mayor and the Democratic Party are hosting a watch party and Harris Walls rally at the Dell Music Center in Fairmount Park. Doors open for that at 7 p.m. There's also one hosted by Watch Party PHL, which is a local organization that hosts women's sports watch parties. They're actually partnering with the Pennsylvania Working Families Party and the All In Action Fund to host a combined WNBA and presidential debate watch party at Dock Street Brewing in South Philly. They'll be showing the Minnesota Lynx versus Atlanta Dream game starting at 7:30, and then the debate at 9 p.m., and that's $10 to attend. The Philadelphia Young Republicans are also hosting one. They're going to have that event at the Kimpton Hotel Monaco in Old City starting at 7:30 p.m. And the Inquirer has a guide to even more watch parties, so I would encourage looking that up if you're looking for other options. They've also got some in the suburbs in that one.
All right, that's a good resource. Have you all ever attended a watch party for a debate?
I actually have. Yeah, I went to one in 2019 for the 2020 Democratic primary, one of those debates. It was when I was doing an internship in Toledo, Ohio. And, it's interesting. It's always in a large primary field, it's definitely interesting to kind of hear different people's takes on all the different candidates. I feel like general election debate is kind of a different vibe, though, since, people often have figured out their side already, and it's less so trying to pick the person you like, although I'm sure this might help some people decide. But yeah, I'm not planning to go to one tonight, but it seems like it could be a fun experience.
I've never been to a formal watch party, but I have had friends over to watch with me.
Mm-hmm.
I do think it could be a something I would do in the future, because it does seem like, having other people reacting to what's going on, hearing opinions, it could be a good place to help you make some decisions if you kind of are in that boat of not sure who you want to vote for,
For sure. I haven't been to any, but I feel like I really want to watch the debate because I feel like both the candidates are going to have some really good sound bites. But speaking of that, there was some controversy over proposed rules for this debate. One of them being that there is going to be muting of the microphones. So according to ABC News, microphones will be live only for the candidate whose turn it is and muted when the time belongs to another candidate. Do y'all think that these candidates, Trump and Harris, are going to abide by this debate rule?
I mean, we'll see. I feel like I can see why this would be a rule, but also if someone's going to talk anyway, then I could see that being distracting to the other candidate. I don't know. I'm trying to have no expectations for this, letting myself be surprised with whatever we're going to see. Because I really think anything can happen.
I feel like it would be to both of their benefits if they did follow this rule, because then people would be able to really focus on like what they're actually trying to say, and everybody would have to be, concise and, follow kind of the structure that is clear for the audience to actually get like cohesive points across. So I'm really hoping that like this goes well and people are able to focus more on like what everybody is saying as opposed to like what people are trying to say or when they interrupt and things like that.
Another point to this debate is that there won't be an audience and only the moderators will be allowed to ask questions. That to me doesn't really, I feel like part of the debate, like the spice and the excitement is to like have that quick rebuttal, like, oh, wait, hold up now.
Yeah.
You said this, back in blah, blah, blah. Like, I feel like part of a good debate is like the wittiness of a candidate to have that quick rebuttal or like that quick fact check. Like, oh, wait, hold up. You said this back, now you're saying this. So I don't know. I want to see that in this debate because I feel like these two candidates, they're going to come strong and they, it's like night and day, it's like, it's been so controversial, I guess, maybe even over these past few months and, I guess leading up to November. So I want to see not a good fight, but like a good debate.
I think to your point, Trenae, too, like part of public speaking is like playing off of audience. So it's kind of hard sometimes, or I can imagine it would be hard for candidates that are so used to talking to big crowds and playing off of them to just like be in an empty room. But also, I'm sure they are being thoroughly prepped for this experience. I don't think anybody will not be rehearsed. So we'll see.
More news after the break. All right, let's get back into the news. Lots of stuff happening. Abby, major developments in the Sixers Arena proposal project. What's happening? What's the latest?
Yeah, there's a lot going on. We're going to start with the most recent news, which is that Mayor Sherrell Parker is hosting a town hall about the proposed Sixers Arena this Wednesday. And this is according to the Inquirer. It's expected to draw a large crowd of community members because this project proposal, which would replace part of the fashion district in Center City with the new 76ers arena, has been super polarizing, like since the beginning. The town hall is going to be at the Pennsylvania Convention Center on Wednesday at 6 p.m. Parker is yet to say if she wants the proposed arena in the Chinatown Fashion District area, but when we spoke to WHYY Plan Philly reporter Aaron Mizell last week, he reminded us that Parker received a lot of political backing from the Philadelphia Building Trades and Construction Council. So that's something interesting to note.
Right, and they played a major part in her mayoral campaign. Also, last week, City Council was back in session. What did City Council say about this proposed project?
Yeah, last Thursday was the first day back after their summer break, and it focused heavily on the Sixers Arena proposal, according to the Inquirer. This is also the first session back since the city-sponsored impact studies came out last month, and they covered how the proposed development could impact things like traffic, economics, and surrounding communities. Many of the council members said they're still kind of mulling over the hundreds of pages that are in these studies, and they want to get through that before kind of making a firm stance on the topic. Mayor Parker also hasn't kind of publicly chosen a side, but her administration is getting some legislation drafted with the Sixers that would aid them in getting this arena built in the Fashion District, which, according to the Inquirer, means that we could actually have a vote on this in City Council before the end of the year if the legislation is brought through. So there's it seems like a light at the end of the tunnel of there could be a conclusion coming our way eventually.
Right, but there has been so much pushback from community members. There was a rally over the weekend, right?
Yeah, there has been a lot of pushback. There were protesters opposing the arena at the actual city council meeting last Thursday. And then also on Saturday, there was a protest led by the Save Chinatown Coalition, a group organizing against the 76ers arena proposal. And that's according to WHYY. Even in the rain, protesters marched around City Hall, down Market Street, and up through Chinatown. There are various speakers, including City Council member Nicholas O'Rourke. Organizers said there was between 3,000 to 4,000 people that were attending this march. So we're going to keep our eye on this story as it continues to unfold. But in the meantime, we do have an episode, like we mentioned, with Erin Mazel that breaks down the Sixers Arena's impact studies, and we'll make sure to link that in our show notes.
So much drama.
I know. I'm getting arena fatigue, presidential campaign fatigue, all of the fatigues.
Well, I'm going to add some more fatigue to you. Another story that we're watching is the recent news about a SEPTA fare hike. There's going to be some changes depending on how you pay for travel. Asha, what's happening?
So we've talked about on the podcast before how SEPTA has run into this big budget shortfall that's still not resolved, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a $240 million deficit, and it's still unclear what kind of state government funding might come to help alleviate that, if any. So SEPTA is looking at shifting around its fare structure potentially. And I will say there's some bad news from a sort of personal wallet perspective here, and maybe a little bit of good news too for SEPTA riders. So kind of just to start off with a little background for anybody who might not be super familiar with all the different ways you can pay for SEPTA. There are a couple options. You can get a SEPTA key card and you can fill up your travel wallet. You can tap to pay with your credit card on every form of transit right now except for regional rail. You can also buy a single ride ticket at a kiosk for the subway or the train, or you can pay in cash on the bus. So one of the biggest takeaways from SEPTA's proposal for how they want to change fares is that there's not going to be a discount anymore for paying with your SEPTA key or tap to pay in most cases. So right now, if you tap your credit card or you fill up your SEPTA key wallet and you tap that card on a bus, on a trolley, or the BSL, MFL, Norristown High Speed Line, you pay $2 for a ride. That's actually a discounted fare. If you pay the fare in cash or buy a one-off ticket at a kiosk, it's actually $2.50. So basically, SEPTA wants to get rid of this discount and make all of these fares the same price, regardless of how you pay. So you'd still be able to make your 2 free transfers within that window if you're paying with a card. So that's an advantage versus using cash. But you would be charged a $2.50 fare if this is adopted.
Asha, is this going to impact regional rail?
So yes, there are also some changes for regional rail, and the case is kind of the same here. If you buy a ticket on board, that's going to be the most expensive option for sure. That's the case now. That will be the case with this proposal as well. But under this proposed plan that came out last week, the kiosk price and the SEPTA key price would be aligned. There are also some other changes too. Mm-hmm. The fares are just getting shifted around a lot. The vast majority of them are going to go up. They're going to be more expensive than they are now. Some of the increases are 25 cents. Others are up to $1.75. Wow. But the specifics all depend on exactly which zones you're traveling between. It also gets rid of different fares at different times of day, which is the case right now on weekdays. And it makes everything the same price all day. It just varies on whether you're traveling during the week or on the weekend. I know that's a lot of sort of numbers and logistics and stuff, but how are you guys feeling about these changes?
I mean, as someone who rides SEPTA fairly regularly, it's definitely sad. I loved the tap discount. It made my life so much easier. But, considering the budget shortfalls, I do understand why that is an easy solution. But yeah, wow, I need to get back on the SEPTA website and look at all the fare differences now.
Asha, this is interesting news, but is there any good news with this story?
So I did tell you there was good news. So let's get to that. And I guess this first thing, whether this is good news or not, kind of depends on whether you're a glass half empty versus glass half full type person. Mm-hmm. But what I'll call good to neutral news is that daily, multi-day, weekly, and monthly passes are all supposed to stay at the same price point they are now. So if you're a very regular SEPTA traveler, you might actually be able to get some good bang for your buck here. I actually did the math. And the monthly TransPass Plus, which covers all buses, all subways, trolleys, and then also Center City and Zone 1 regional rail, plus the airport line. It covers all those on weekdays, and then it also lets you travel anywhere on SEPTA on the weekends. That pass costs $96, which means with these increased fares, it would basically pay for itself in 39 bus, trolley, or subway trips, which is around the number of times you'd probably use it if you commute to work 5 days a week. And if you use it on regional rail, you're saving even more money because those fares are higher. So, speaking from my own experience, when I was commuting regularly, I never really bothered with buying any of these weekly or monthly passes because I did the math then and it didn't quite add up to being worth my money since I just wasn't using SEPTA frequently enough to justify it. But I do think if I were in a situation now where I was commuting regularly, I might have reconsidered this. But yeah, and then one other piece of good news is that there are actually 3 stations that under this plan, they're currently categorized as Zone 2. They'd become Zone 1. So that's Overbrook, Tulpehocken, and Wissahickon. So that actually means that tickets between Center City and those stations will start to cost a little less than what they cost now, even with all of these other pricing changes. And they'll also be included in more weekly and monthly passes. So good news for people who live in those neighborhoods.
That's good. Silver lining.
For sure, for sure. All right, well, when does all of this go into effect?
This is all dependent upon SEPTA's board approving it. So right now, it's just a proposal. If you do have thoughts you want to share, whether they're positive or negative, there are actually public hearings happening October 16th at 10 a.m. and 4 p.m.
All right, more news after the break. All right, and finally, let's have some fun and test how well we've been following the news. Asha just told us the story about traveling on SEPTA. I've got a news quiz question about commuting around town. What area roadway may soon be widened to solve the chronic rush hour traffic? Is it A, Broad Street, B, the Benny, or Benjamin Franklin Bridge, C, Roosevelt Boulevard, or is it D, the Blue Route?
Okay, I do think I know this one, but it's purely based on the fact that I've been driving on Broad lately and it's been looking a mess. It is all bumpy and stuff, and I'm like, so if they're not doing something really awesome, like widening the roads, I'm pissed. So I really hope it's Broad.
I have actually no idea. I will guess the Blue Route. That was a totally random guess.
Ding, ding, ding. That is the answer.
What are they doing to Broad then? What is wrong with the road?
I don't know, repaving it. But you're right. The answer is the Blue Route. So this is the 20-mile expressway that forms part of 476, which connects Delaware and Montgomery counties. It also links 95 to the Turnpike and the Northeast Extension, which will take you to Chester and to Scranton. So Philly Voice reports that around the year 2027, PennDOT plans to add a 3rd lane on this roadway to widen the shoulders on both sides of the median. And they are also thinking about adding overhead signals to let drivers know when they can use the lanes. All right, I've got another question. There have been a number of cargo thefts in the city this year. The latest involved 3 large pallets of what product that was stolen from the back of a tractor trailer in South Philly? Was it A, Ralph Lauren polo shirts, B, Nike Dunk Low Silver Surfer sneakers? Was it C, a food product, or D, building materials used for homes?
Okay, I think I actually know this one. I'm pretty sure it's C, a food product, because I think it's some kind of seafood. I feel like I read the story. It was a couple pallets of I'm probably going to get this wrong. Was it shellfish?
I do remember some sort of seafood theft happening in South Philly a while ago, but I don't know if it is again a seafood theft. I'm gonna guess the Nike Dunks just because that's very specific and they're cool. So I'll go with that.
That was one to just throw you off, Abby.
You got me.
It is seafood, yes. Yeah, I think this is just such a wild story to me. I remember being in the nail salon and seeing it they have TV screens in the nail salon and it's snow crab legs stolen. And then I'm just oh my God, if you steal that, they only have a short amount of time. You have to get that into a freezer. into some cold ice water, right? Or refrigerator. You have to work fast.
That's
It's wild.
what a heist.
And my last question.
Okay.
Reanimator Coffee is bringing back a special blend that they have made for a special athlete of Philadelphia. Who is that athlete that they are honoring with this special blend of coffee?
Do we get choices for this one?
A, Jalen Hurts. B, Jason Kelsey. C, Nick Foles. Or D, Bryce Harper.
I think it's A.
I almost feel like you said that they were bringing back something, which makes me think it's like an athlete from like maybe like who's been around for a little longer than Jalen Hurts has. So like I'm gonna guess maybe like I don't know, like Nick Foles, even though he's not in Philly anymore. I don't think. But isn't he retiring as an Eagle? Is that him?
You're right, Asha.
Yes. Nice job, Asha.
I wanted the suspense. Now we know that like Asha reads her news. Yes. Philly Voice reports that former Eagles quarterback Nick Foles is retiring after 11 NFL seasons. And to commemorate his career, Reanimator Coffee is going to release this special roast blend. Because remember, he's the one. He's the one that got us that championship. The Super Bowl championship. So yes, shout out to Nick Foles.
Good job, Asha. Killed it today.
Thank you. I feel like I guessed. I feel like I just totally guessed for the first one and educated guess for the last one. So I feel like my guessing's on point today.
So on point. All right, that was our Hey Philly newsletter editor, Asha Prihar, and our CityCast Philly producer, Abby Fritz. Thank y'all so much for joining me on this news roundup.
Thank you for having us, Trenae. This was fun.
Thanks so much, Trenae.
That's all for today here on CityCast Philly. How well did you do with the news quiz? If you enjoyed this news roundup episode, tell a friend, rate the show, leave us a review, and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to sign up for our morning newsletter, Hey Philly, to learn more about what else Philly's talking about. We'll be back Thursday morning with more news from around the city. Bye.